Amber Heard has gone from a relatively unknown actress to one of the most talked about in Hollywood, although it had nothing to do with her acting skills but rather the domestic situation with her former partner Johnny Depp. We're going to be telling you all about why Hollywood shouldn't be casting Amber Heard in future flicks. Amber Laura Heard was born and raised in Texas and made her film debut in a minor supporting role for the sports drama called Friday Night Lights. Following that, she appeared in other smaller roles in both television and film, although her first leading role came when she starred in the horror flick called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane in 2006. However, the film was not released in the United States until 2013 due to distribution problems. By far her big breakthrough roles though came in 2008 when she was cast in the action film called Never Back Down and the stoner comedy Pineapple Express, both of which were huge box office success stories. Now Amber is still booking roles. Recently she took part in a TV series called The Stand, and she has one other film in pre-production. In 2011, Amber Heard worked opposite Johnny Depp in the film called The Rum Diary. The movie was about an American journalist, Paul Kemp, who takes a freelance job in Puerto Rico for a local newspaper during the 1960s. The movie follows him as he struggles to find balance between island culture and the expatriates who live there. A few years after Johnny Depp and Amber Heard first met on that set, the two began dating after Depp and longtime partner Vanessa Paradis called it quits. At the same time, Heard had also split with her partner Tasha Van Reed, although that separation is really where Amber began formulating a bad reputation. According to USA Today, Amber was arrested in 2009 for physically assaulting her then-girlfriend Van Reed at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in Washington. Apparently the two had gotten into a disagreement after Heard allegedly grabbed and hit Van Reed's arm. All charges were eventually dropped, with Tasha claiming that the situation was over-sensationalized in the media. Regardless, the general public just saw the headline of Amber assaulting her girlfriend, and thus the narrative was off to the races. By 2015, Depp and Heard had gotten married in a private ceremony at their home in LA. Later that year, Amber found herself in more trouble after she breached Australia's biosecurity laws when she failed to declare that her dogs were arriving with her in the country. As a result, the couple had to do this super cringy apology video together. Fast forward to 2016, and that's where this couple's toxic side really began to show. On May 23, 2016, Heard filed for divorce from Depp and obtained a temporary restraining order against him as well. At the time of the divorce, Amber alleged that Depp threw a phone at her, leaving the actress with a bruised face. Although a police spokesman told People magazine that an investigation into the domestic incident radio call found no evidence that a crime had actually taken place. Depp continued to deny the allegations made against him, and through his legal representatives, they believe Heard had concocted the story in an attempt to secure premature financial resolution by alleging this abuse. Now, here's perhaps a really good reason to never trust Amber Heard. According to The Hollywood Reporter, after their divorce was finalized in 2017, it included a non-disparagement clause, which prohibited either party from saying anything negative about the high-profile relationship and the subsequent breakup. You'd think that the drama would have ended with that, but nope. The following year, Amber wrote a scathing op-ed piece for the Washington Post in which she completely disparaged Johnny Depp without directly mentioning his name. It was very sneaky and opened up a can of worms that just couldn't be closed. In the op-ed, Heard writes, "I became a public figure representing domestic and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out," which is just an outright lie. She did not become a public figure representing domestic unless she's including that assault on her former girlfriend. She isn't though. She's trying to say that she was the face of domestic after the police confirmed that there was no evidence of this. Yet still, she fully believes that she is the victim of our culture's wrath, when in reality, it was the public responding to someone lying through their teeth. The biggest indicator that she is truly living inside of her own bubble is this statement. "I'm old enough to remember that in 2017 we were going through what was called the Me Too movement. Plenty of powerful and prominent men were either arrested or fired for their inappropriate actions. I'm sure by now you're starting to get the gist of why Hollywood shouldn't be casting Amber. I mean, if you consider lying as a form of acting, well then she's pretty good at that, but I don't think they do. And from a studio standpoint, why would you ever trust someone who has repeatedly tried to change the narrative while accepting no blame whatsoever? That doesn't really seem like the type of person that you would want to work with." Additionally, the number of signatures to have her removed from Aquaman 2 has now surpassed 1.5 million and is on its way to 2 million. That is a big deal whether Hollywood wants to admit it or not. If you put Amber in anything now, you know that there will be an outpouring of Johnny Depp supporters who will either try to get it taken down or just outright advocate for a boycott. Johnny Depp has really been put through the ringer as of late, with Warner Brothers pressuring him to step down from Fantastic Beasts and Disney removing him from Pirates of the Caribbean. Many are worried that Depp's acting days may be numbered. If you haven't figured it out already, Hollywood is filled with double standards, and today we'll be breaking down exactly why Hollywood is not casting Johnny Depp anymore. Before Johnny had lost his libel case with the Sun newspaper, many production companies were deciding to stay out of the whole situation involving him and Amber Heard. Warner Brothers even said that they were refusing to pick sides, and back in 2017, both the director and producer of the film film, defended keeping Depp in the series. Although once the hammer dropped and the judge ruled in favor of the newspaper and their original statements calling Depp a wife beater, everyone began to distance themselves. Depp then released a statement on his Instagram and said, "In light of recent events, I would like to make the following short statement. Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody who has gifted me with their support and loyalty. I have been humbled and moved by your many messages of love and concern, particularly over the last few days. Secondly, I wish to let you know that I have been asked to resign by Warner Bros. For my role as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts, and I have respected and agreed to that request. Finally, I wish to say this, the surreal judgment of the court in the UK will not change my fight to tell the truth, and I confirm that I plan to appeal. My resolve remains strong and I intend to prove that the allegations against me are false. My life and career will not be defined by this moment in time." Now, regardless of how much he wants to fight, these court rulings are going to be hard to come back from. Just a few years ago, Johnny Depp was one of the highest paid actors in the world, but after allegations of domestic violence, he essentially became box office poison. Not to his fans, obviously, but to the executive producers who are worried about being accused themselves of supporting an alleged wife abuser. That's where this whole situation of Johnny Depp being pushed out of Hollywood really stems from. According to a Washington Post report, Disney is said to have fired Depp from their Pirates of the Caribbean franchise 4 days after Amber Heard's 2018 op-ed article. The odd thing is that the article never actually named Depp, so Disney just acted on instinct with no evidence purely to save face. Then to make matters even weirder, they claimed to be removing Depp to add a new energy and vitality to the franchise, which was most likely a cover-up, seeing as though they acted swiftly on this disparaging op-ed piece from Amber Heard. Although another reason why Hollywood could be refusing to cast Depp is his price tag. According to Forbes, Depp's salary, including his profit percentage, works out to around $100 million per film for the Pirates franchise. That being said, the last film hit crazy box office numbers. Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales registered a box office haul of nearly $800 million, which is even below the over $1 billion totals of the franchise's second and fourth films. With the third film, I think it was grossing somewhere in the ballpark of like $960 million. Whatever Disney is planning on doing with that extra $90 million or $100 million, it better be a decent replacement for Johnny Depp, because if not, all this money will do is cover a tremendous loss at the box office. So far, the only company that has defended Johnny Depp is Dior. Depp has been the face of Dior's fragrance Sauvage since 2015, and even amid backlash from defending him, they still refuse to fire Johnny. So it's possible that we will begin to see Depp transitioning from major box office films to representing more companies that don't mind having a controversial figure as their frontman. After their ad aired during the Great British Bake Off, the Advertising Standards Authority said that they received a total of 11 complaints about the ad, with the complaints believing that Johnny Depp shouldn't be in it due to the details concerning his recent court case. However, the company has been thriving on controversy for years now, and having Depp represent them has never been a better fit. Regardless of Hollywood not wanting to hire Johnny Depp anymore, he still has millions of supporters. It's also very possible that through these supporters, Johnny Depp will be able to leverage more studios that will back him. He said hopefully. Back in the early 2000s, Tobey Maguire was a highly sought after actor and also one of the highest paid at the time. Although in just a few short years, his career took a disastrous tumble that landed him on the outskirts of Hollywood. Today on the channel, we'll be talking about exactly what led to the downfall of Tobey Maguire. To really understand where everything went wrong, let's start back at the beginning, shall we? Tobey's first credited on-screen role came at the age of 15 when he was featured as a character in the sitcom called First and 10. For most of the 1990s, he picked up several smaller walk-on roles in TV shows, with his first big starring role coming in 1992 with the short-lived sitcom called Great Scott. Although even with his great start to acting, Tobey never believed that he could become a professional actor. Apparently during his childhood, he even entertained the idea of becoming a chef and even wanted to enroll in a home economics class as a 6th grader. Although his mother, who once had dreams of being a professional actor, offered Tobey $100 to take a drama class instead. He ended up agreeing to this, and in doing so, he decided to drop out of high school to continue acting. Thanks to some luck, talent, and his good boy appearance, Tobey ended up booking a lot of roles, which is actually one of the main reasons why he just isn't booking roles anymore in his older age. As time went on, Tobey's baby face and softer voice began to lose its original charm. Boyish charm, I should add, that he leaned heavily on for films such as The Cider House Rules and eventually Spider-Man. The problem is that he never changed his acting style along with his own aging process. He was still attempting to depend on that boyish charm despite looking aged out. All that did was make it very difficult for audiences to connect with him, and thus the decline began. One of his childhood friends, Leonardo DiCaprio, is a good example of someone who was on the same path, but as he aged, he took on more gritty roles to overcome that boy next door casting call. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that he tried to take on different roles, but the reputation just didn't stick. In 1998, he starred alongside Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro for the film Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is an absolutely wild movie about the life of Hunter S. Thompson, and you don't get grittier than that. Following this film, he displayed that he was capable of being a more universal actor, and in 2002 he landed his career-defining role when he was cast to play Peter Parker. With his intelligent demeanor, acting talent, and short stature, he was the perfect fit to bring the iconic character of Spider-Man to the big screen. With this movie coming out, Tobey was solidified as an A-lister in Hollywood, and in the opening weekend the movie brought in $110 million. So what do you do from there? Well, you sign a contract for 2 more sequels, because why not try and strike while the iron's hot? Although by 2007, when the third film rolled into theaters, his career took a drastic nosedive. The third film was heavily relying on the success of the first 2, with the second film being considered one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Even the director Sam Raimi admitted to his shortcomings of Spider-Man 3. In 2014, during an interview with The Nerdist, he said, "Each and every one of those Spider-Man movies were pretty damn challenging. Working in that big budget arena where so much is at stake with much beloved characters that Stan Lee created, and people really hold them so dear to them that you don't want to mess up. And I messed up plenty with the third Spider-Man, so people hated me for years. They still hate me for it. It's a movie that just didn't work very well. I tried to make it work but didn't really believe in all the characters, and so that can't be hidden from people who love Spider-Man. If a director doesn't love something, it's wrong of them to make it if so many other people love it." On top of that, Sony decided to scrap a potential 4th film because supposedly Sam Raimi couldn't get a script done on their timeline. That being said, all the blame shouldn't be put on Sam for the lack of work that Tobey would get. One of the real reasons that Hollywood won't hire him is scandal. In 2011, his penchant for gambling got the better of him as he was tied up in a massive illegal poker club that allegedly involved the likes of Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and DiCaprio. He was even sued for his involvement after it was revealed that the poker ringleader Bradley Ruderman had been using investor funds to play poker with. Tobey ended up settling in 2013 to avoid further litigation, and then on top of it all, he was named in Molly Bloom's scathing memoir titled Molly's Game. In the book, Molly writes about Tobey and says, "Jamie and Tobey were all in, and I wasn't sure which one I was rooting for. Jamie had almost lost his bankroll, and once he did, I wouldn't be able to let him play anymore. I liked Jamie, he was kind and generous. Tobey was the worst tipper, the best player, and the absolute worst loser, but I had to worry about my job security if he lost. I held my breath and watched Diego turn over the cards. Tobey won." Although it gets worse than just him being a sore loser or a poor tipper, he's actually a sore winner. Molly continues by saying he held a $1,000 chip in his hand. He flipped it over a couple times in his fingers. "This is yours," he said, holding it out. "Thanks, Tobey," I said, reaching my hand out. He yanked the chip back at the last second. He said, "if you do something to earn these $1,000. His voice was loud enough that some of the guys looked up to see what was happening. I laughed, trying not to show my nerves. "What do I want you to do?" he said, as if he were pondering. The whole table was watching us now. "I know," he said. "Get up on that desk and bark like a seal." I looked at him. His face was lit up like it was Christmas Eve. "Bark like a seal who wants a fish," he said. I laughed again, stalling, hoping he would play the joke out by himself and leave. "I'm not kidding. What's wrong? You too rich now? You won't bark for $1,000? Wow, you must be really rich." These are just a few of the stories that damaged his reputation, and since the release of Molly's Game, Tobey has been pretty much blacklisted from Hollywood.